So most people actually built their forever home there. You know, they had beautiful 2 stories with the pool and the thing, and you're close to the beach and the kids love it and close to amenities and what have you. Now people have made 400-500 grand on those builds, and now they're renting out those homes. Yep. And so there's a huge actual rental market that's now kind of come out of nowhere, and it's good to actually take advantage of it.
I didn't know. I'm surprised they did that.
You'll be shocked. I do research before we do a podcast. I know.
This is the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Land Specialists and Catherine Smith from Build Bright Builder Brokers.
If you guys are looking to build in WA or simply curious to see what's going on in building, you guys are in the right place. We're here to give insight with professionals in the game, coming to give the inside scoop. Episodes are uploaded weekly, so don't worry, we don't skip a beat and you won't either. Like, share, subscribe, sit back, relax, and let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde and
Catherine Smith.
Hey, how are you? Smashing them today. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, not too bad. So after the resounding success of Suburbs under 500k, geez, that was mad.
That was going. I think under 500k is not one we can repeat because we'll be looking at units.
Maybe 550 if you look at it.
We'll be looking at blocks for under 500k next year. Yeah.
I mean, we can't tell you enough like how quickly everything's going.
I know.
And the guests we've had on are talking about it as well. So
as a rehash, for 500k we had Hilbert, we had Yanchep and Baldivis, and the amount of inquiries we've got for those 3 suburbs since that YouTube dropped was.
And the good news about it is we're under the impression we seem to know that Baldivis is going to release quite a few bit more property in the coming new year in 2024.
Yeah.
So that's great. And it's going to be a bit more north as well, so we're a little bit closer to the city and stuff like that, so it's really good. More
near like the Wellard train would probably be their main one.
I reckon it'll end up being called North Baldivis because Baldivis is that big that Baldivis is such a massive suburb.
I don't think Baldivis has any boundaries. It's just taking...
Whatever, that's Baldivis right there.
If you're half an hour south of Perth, you're in Baldivis.
Where do you live in WA or Baldivis? Yeah. So on that train of thought, we thought a great idea to show you the suburbs that we think that are bang for your buck for under 600k.
So if you've got an extra couple of bucks up your sleeve, or we just cannot get you anything in those 3 suburbs, we're going to explore the next 3 that obviously are affordable, but around the 600 grand mark.
Yeah, absolutely. So first one off the back is Byford, which I suppose is very similar to what Baldivis would be, right? Sort of kind of in the growth.
Yeah. So Byford is more like in the hills. Definitely has its own character, if you know what I mean by that. You know, you're in the hills, you have hill people there, different to the Baldivis people.
If you go to where we spoke about the under 500k and you went to like the Hilbert, if you come a little bit further south, southeastish
and up a hill,
and up a hill is when you start heading into Byford. It's been a suburb there established for years and years. Lots of big blocks, and obviously developers saw the
It was almost like the fringe of Perth, I would say. It was a fringe suburb where now it's definitely not. You know, it's such funny how things change.
Yeah, it's just a normal suburb and it's getting connected.
Correct.
Through all Armadale Road and all that stuff. It's all starting to get connected.
Yeah, and what we're finding, particularly for Byford specifically, is there's just not a lot of stock there because people live there long term. You know, you do not really have like your in and out flippers. It's sort of like the people that live there were probably there for a long time growing up and they're buying because they want to live around family and have their own children there and things like that. There's constantly new primary schools going up, left, right and centre, new infrastructure, but people are living there long term, you know.
Very much a family orientated. And I know from personal experience, the Byford Bowling Club is fantastic on a Sunday afternoon. It is so good.
It's a nice community,
But it's a lovely, but it's got the big play area and stuff. It's fantastic. Trust me, the beer's cold, so you can't be complaining.
Yes.
So what's the facts and figures of Byford? And this is where it is. Hopefully it's running about me somewhere.
Okay, we'll do a little AI, something. Well, it's funny because a lot of people actually buy to live in Byford. Like we're sort of saying, there is that really big established market and there's not a lot of rentals. So there's 0.4% vacancy rate for rentals, which basically means there's no rentals. So if you were going to build to rent, this is why we basically put Byford on this suburb, because the demand for rentals extremely high and stock is extremely low. So we are getting the investors that obviously, are suiting that market, and this is the one to go because you actually do get a really good rental return. The rental yields for Byford is about 5.78%. So almost pushing the 6%, which is really, really good. I think it will go there to 6%.
Definitely.
Next year. It's just there is absolutely no rental. So if people are in the position where, let's say their family live in Byford, but they can't actually afford to buy in just at the moment, they just had a kid or whatever, they can't service the loan, they want to look at renting, and there's just actually no stock available. So build to rent Byford makes a lot of sense.
There's a few suburbs just outside it and building in estates and that. So you've got Beeliar Grove, which I think is pretty much gone. There only is much there. There is a couple of the other suburb that's pretty. That's got quite. It's not got loads, but it's got a fair amount of. Is Whitby.
Yes, Whitby. I feel like Whitby. WHITBY. Whitby is like next to Byford. Yeah. It's just sort of the neighbouring suburb, if you will, a little bit underground, still a little bit unheard of. And that's one that's going to be up and coming. I think will be, we'll probably do a podcast on Whitby alone next 2024.
We're seeing with some of those out that area as well, they're not tiny small blocks. They're still fairly decent sized blocks.
That's a good point.
Which is a good one if you're wanting that bit of size. I think there's not much less than 375, which sounds small, which is actually a decent size at the moment.
Fair blocks about 450, but also reasonably priced, right? Yeah. So if you want like a nice family home for 400 square meters or even 500 plus, Byford is sort of where it's at.
Yeah, I think so.
You're not like, it's not like those tight subdivisions where it's like house boundary to boundary.
And you still got a little bit of country living. It's it's surrounded by the hills, a lot of fields and stuff. What happens in the future, I'm not really sure, but it's pretty old school Australia. It's kind of what I thought Australia would look like when I came, sort of thing. Not the cities, like when you drive in, and it's like the big homes and the big roads and the country town and that. Yeah,
I think there is a lot of, I guess, government land with nature and things like that. So a lot of things will be like reserved and kept that way. Which I think nice.
And the way they will subdivide it up, but they'll do it smart. The way they've done Baldivis, kept lots of nice open plan parks and stuff like that. So hopefully they stick to that.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump on to the next one. And I really like this suburb. The growth in the suburb is mental.
It's a good location, just generally. Yeah.
So this is, I'm going to say it out loud and I'm going to say where it is and everyone can start laughing. So it's Beeliar in the city of Cockburn. Sorry, it's Coburn. It's Coburn, spelled C-O-C-K, but Coburn. So Beeliar.
Beeliar is a suburb, yeah.
Yeah, it's 28k southwest of Perth. And if you know kind of Perth, it's beach side of the freeway, I think what they kind of call it. The freeway runs down like the middle of Perth, up down. And you've got beachside and non-beachside. This is beachside of it, pretty close to Fremantle and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Beeliar, and we'll go through this.
It's basically south of Fremantle, but half the price.
Beeliar is one of the first suburbs that I thought that I seen that went on the market and was quickly snapped up and quickly jumped up in price. A lot of double stories in Beeliar, because the land was so cheap when people bought in there.
Yes.
And the growth there was so quick and so huge. It was fantastic, wasn't it?
Yeah, and almost it is in a funny pocket because it jumps off the back of Coburn and then jumps off the back of the city of Fremantle. So it has this almost like unintentional growth just based on location alone.
And it's kind of sat on top of a hill, like the hill that comes from the road up. So
the
a lot
beach
of properties, you can see the beach. Now they're a couple of k's away, but it's still beach views in India. And there's a lot of people built.
You for sure get beach breeze, right?
Yeah, definitely. You get the doctor.
Yeah.
The Fremantle doctor. Is it? People still talk about that, or does aircon just get rid of it now?
Aircon's a must, let's be honest.
All right, so look, rental yield on that is 4.8%. So it's still pretty decent. I know that would have been higher a few years ago, but yeah, it's a pretty solid suburb to be in, and still quite a bit of land around.
What I'm finding with Beeliar is it was predominantly created as a build to live, not a build to rent. And that's why the rental yields are a little bit lower, just because there's not a lot in that market. I have noticed in the shift the last 12 months a higher rental growth for the suburb. What I'm finding is probably people built there maybe 5 years ago, and now they're renting it out and have now used that equity to, move somewhere they want better, right? So there's actually 21% rental growth in the last 12 months, right? So I know.
Really? Wow, okay. Yep.
So that's why I put it actually as one of our hotspots for under 600 grand, because the rental market has rapidly starting to grow in Beeliar, which was never actually its intention, because if you know Perth, you know Beeliar being the hotspot that it is, it's a very desirable place to live. So most people actually built their forever home there. You know, they had beautiful 2 stories with the pool and the thing, and you're close to the beach and the kids love it and close to amenities and what have you. Now people have made $400,000-500,000 on those blocks, on those builds, and now they're renting out those homes.
Yep.
And so there's a huge actual rental market that's now kind of come out of nowhere, and it's good to actually take advantage of it.
I didn't know. I'm surprised today that
You'll be shocked. I do research before we do a podcast. I know.
This wasn't my one. Well, I'm actually shocked. So I'm going to take a second at that, because I thought it was like live to build to live. But again, with Beeliar as well, it's got massive blocks, like big blocks, and it's got in between sort of fields with the stuff like that. There is big blocks out there, which again, you know, I'm not sure they are codes, but you could be open to subdivision and things like that in the future. I know they're quite strict in the city of Coburn with that stuff because of the amount of growth they've had. But there are still a few pockets of land available in Beeliar. We know that. We see that. Not a lot, but there are still some really good pockets as well. Yes,
I actually did a townhouse there last year, and it was like, for a townhouse, I mean, crazy build price. It was like $312,000 for a townhouse. I know. It would have a 4 in front of it now for sure.
And the rest.
Minimum. Yeah. She got the keys in her hand the other day, actually.
Right.
Which is ahead of schedule, which is always good. But I'll be interested to know what that townhouse now is valued at, because her price point, I think, was like $520 or something stupid, and obviously definitely will have a 6 in front of it now.
I mean, and just where it's located, it's got so much access to everything down south. Rio, City, amenities, everything is great. So I definitely think it's a really good one to look at. Alrighty.
Okay, last suburb for under $600,000, build to rent is
Forrestfield.
We're now moving back east, but a little bit more closer to the city compared to, say, Byford. Forrestfield is near the airport, and that is why it is always popular to build to rent. Right, take it away, Tony. Go.
All right, so I like Forrestfield. I've got a couple of clients out there that have bought, but it wasn't cheap. But their rental is just, I can't believe the numbers that they get on their, on what they rent it out for. So the rental growth was at 13.7%. That's ridiculous.
It is. That's last 12 months as well.
But why?
I mean, a few factors, particularly now with the borders opening, obviously the demand for people coming from over east to do FIFO work, right? So generally speaking, let's say if you're coming from Queensland or whatever, you want to try the FIFO life, that is half of WA, let's be fair. They want to live near the airport because it's easy access for their swing. So Forrestfield is generally one of those suburbs that are looked at for that desirability. But also Forrestfield is a mix of those older established houses and then the new builds. New builds are always more favourable in terms of renting out to sort of FIFO, because it's a lock and leave, it's a low maintenance sort of thing. They don't particularly want to have those big blocks that they have to mow the lawn and deal with all of that sort of stuff if they're just renting it out and they're not here half the time, you know, because they're up north. So what you find is sort of those more like low maintenance blocks, nothing too crazy, new builds, so it's less hassles with wear and tear and what have you.
City of Kalamunda, that's where it's located.
Yeah.
They're pretty good to deal with. I know that they're encouraging dual living and granny flats and that sort of thing. Quite happy to push that stuff sort of through. Again, because they're well aware of who's buying that property up, FIFO workers, people close to the airport, that kind of stuff to help kind of push that out, right?
Yeah, you're getting a decent rental as well. You're getting about $540 for a 3x2 and then up high fives for a 4-bedroom. So realistically, let's say if there's 2 guys FIFO or a guy who's FIFO with a family, that's definitely desirable, you know, in terms of price point as well. And it almost is a little bit targeted towards men, I'm going to say, because they've got their golf course there. They've got sort of their nature reserves and things like that. If guys are into hiking, and it's actually not that far from the city as well.
Yeah, it's a primo location, but again, you pay for it, right? You know, you got to pay for it to get there. But it's definitely going to be one of those suburbs that will never, I don't think will ever lose you rental.
No,
because of the location, being the airport. The golf course and so close to the city that I feel like a lot of people will be quite happy to jump in there and I think investors, you'd be a really good rental market in there. You'll never sort of lose if there is a downturn in 10, 12 years. these places will survive. It'll
Yes.
be really good. Other places might not be as well. They'll still be rentals, but they won't get the return won't be as high. So again, smash your mortgage down. So any rental return you get is a positive, right?
Yeah, and I think Forrestfield was one of the first suburbs to have MetroNet linked. So essentially MetroNet is still underway. It hasn't completed yet, but essentially it would just be connecting certain suburbs to the main train lines.
So a few years ago, and a good few years ago now, there was a need for upgrading the train system for areas like we didn't have a train station we couldn't get to the airport.
Yeah.
We couldn't, an international airport, we can't get the train out. We used to take people 3 hours in the city and bus it out. That's what they've looked at, done, and then they're starting to connect the suburbs and to make that happen. So yeah, again, so Forrestfield's got the link in there. So if you do want to FIFO and train in, you don't want to park, you can just train in and done like that. So again, another positive for investment, especially, and it is really geared towards that FIFO life, that FIFO work. I think it's probably FIFO work being dominated more in the males in the industry. Probably that's where it ties into being pushed towards that male dominated sort of thing. I'm just rambling there, aren't I?
Let's wrap it up. But let's just wrap it up. We're going to go. So these are the suburbs we think, if you're going to build as an investment to rent out sort of probably the least, let's say 5 years, you want to have a nice solid rental yield, but you also want probably take into consideration a nice equity growth as well. Byford, which is sort of southeast up in the hills. Then you have Forrestfield, which is also southeast, but more closer to the city, closer to the airport.
Southwest. Oh, sorry if I was you. Sorry.
Sorry. And then southwest, we have Beeliar, which is more along the coast.
Yeah. What's your favourite? What would you pick? What one would you pick?
I'm going to go Beeliar.
Yeah, go Forrestfield.
Oh.
But is that because I'm a guy?
You like golf?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, again,
actually, to be fair, they're all good. I mean,
that's why they're there. That's why they're on the list.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of other suburbs under 600k, but we don't feel you'll get the best bang for buck and the ongoing growth that we want to see.
Yeah, the longevity of it. Yeah.
Again, come and ask us. We can help you out if any of them don't suit you or you want to go higher. There's other suburbs. Let us know what you think about this sort of topic or the suburbs under 600k. If you want to see more or do more suburbs under the 500k, whatever you want, shout us out, reach out to us and please let us know. But as always, we'll wrap up here. But as always, please like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, because it really does help us keep pushing out this good message and what we're trying to do. Okay, so thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye. This is the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Lawn Specialists and Catherine Smith from Build Bright Builder Brokers.
If you guys are looking to build in WA or simply curious to see what's going on in building, you guys are in the right place. We're here to give insight with professionals in the game, coming to give the inside scoop. Episodes are uploaded weekly, so don't worry, we don't skip a beat and you won't either. Like, share, subscribe, sit back, relax, and let's go.